Alright, so this is a continuation of using Git to then have push a local repository to remote repository, and then from there using Heroku to run our application with Git Hub and Git, and then this application would be your Twitter bot in Python. And so now this video is not using the simple connection to GitHub, but rather using our local repository and then pushing any changes not to GitHub, but to your application in Heroku. And this is one of the greater kind of personal tastes in regards to using Heroku, because say if you want to build your application but you don't have any internet connection while you're traveling, you build your application locally in your own local server through some module, right? And then once you work with this, you can then implement it in your and deploy it in your production instance of your application. So let's just create this new app. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 5. That's available. Awesome. Let's create that app. So we're going on through and then showing how we can use Heroku Git to do this. And then to use Heroku CLI, you actually need to go to type in Heroku CLI, and then you go here to Heroku CLI, Heroku Dev Center, and then you go download and install. If you have a Mac, you can just do brew install Heroku /brew/Heroku. You can do that. And then for Windows users like me, you'll simply download this and then run, and then install Heroku. And then once you get to some point, you'll type in Heroku, and then from there everything will be established. But for me, just have all the commands that are available to me. Awesome. Alright, and let's just go back to here. So now we want to deploy using Heroku Git. So the overview here is we are going to do the same Git staging, committing, and then we're going to push. We're going to push not to GitHub or any other service like Bitbucket or etc. But rather we're going to, or GitLab, or we're going to push these changes to Heroku, and this is the process right here of how to go about that. So right now, if you haven't already logged in your Heroku account, do the following: Heroku login, and hopefully you remember your password and username. You'll enter that, and everything will be successful. Let's see if I can actually log out. Oh no! No, Heroku, okay. My credentials have been cleared, so let's log in. So Heroku login. Damn. Okay, well if you notice I spelled Heroku wrong, that's great. Heroku login. Enter your credentials. And pray. Looks like I'm going to have to do this in command line time being, actually. Pretty sure I just, whoops. If anything, I would have to go through the command line and put in my credentials. Okay, looks like I'm going to have to go through command line. That's not problem. Command line. So coming up, here is my command line. So go on. Okay. It's interesting how I wasn't able to log in using Bash. I think it's a compatibility issue. Maybe it's just because of this is Heroku for command line and not for Bash. So that could be the reason right there. It's just incompatibility issues. Ooh, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not my password. Okay, that was weird. Okay, so if you type in anything and do backspaces, a backspace is considered a password. So be careful of that. Okay, so now I'm logged in. That's great, and logged into Heroku. It's great. So now if you do git remote -v, we see that and from the previous video that we pushed and retrieved from our remote repository in GitHub. But right now I would like to initialize my repository. So imagine if I did git init right here and peace out right here in this repository, git init, and then what I would do next is Heroku git :remote -a, and then whatever your application name is. You can also do, let me just, hopefully this is not too small. So you can also do git remote add, and then you can do the link to Heroku, and then where can I find it somewhere? Is it in settings? Let me check. It is in settings. So this would be the Heroku git URL that you'll do for git remote add, and then this. But in this case, we will use we'll actually be using Heroku, and just to double check and see if I actually do have Heroku installed on my computer. Assuming you've already done that, yes, I see options available to me, and we're able to work with interact with Heroku command line interface. So was it Heroku git :remote add -a, and then what is our application name? Heroku git remote add -a. We're going to add tweep hi -12345. And we're waiting for this connection to be established. Command failed. Git remote add. Fetching. Why did it fail? Heroku git -. Okay. I'm mixing a couple things up. So Heroku git :remote add was already there. This add, I'm being a little bit too verbose. Okay, -a tweep hi -12345. As you see in the instructions, that's why the instructions are there. Go through, and then hopefully we are connected. Yeah, set git remote Heroku to HTTPS git, etc. Tweep hi -12345.git. Cool. So now if we do git remote -v, we see now that we're connected to our remote repository in GitHub, and then the remote how would be, or a frame of saying like remote repository, but we're connected to Heroku. The remote, yeah, it's just remote repository in Heroku. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm glad to be corrected. And then last thing you need to do is now do the so say if you had some changes that need to be made, you'll do git add, git commit. For me, -am doesn't work, so I have to do git add everything wherever those several changes are, and $ampersand git commit -m, etc. So I would have to do that to add and then commit simultaneously. But again, you saw that in the previous video, and then again, you can disregard this one line if you want. Now, the last important thing right here is git push, not origin master, Heroku master, because we're going to push all those changes to Heroku, so let's do that, Heroku master. And then remember, we're still connected, that same repository where we worked at the last video, it's still connected to our remote repository GitHub, and we're not adding the same application or the same repository in the same application. I created a separate application called, which is I guess now in hindsight, that naming tweepy12345, whereas in the previous video I had an application called tweepy-1234. So it's a different application, different remote. Python app detected, installing Python 3.64, installing pip, and then the dyno, or excuse me, the app, the application, and dyno knows to install all Python, pip, and those requirements, and that was specified by requirements.txt, right? Great. And then this was all done because Heroku identified this as a Python application, and I also defined my proc file to say, hey, this worker type processy is in Python, and then the application is in Python. So, but from what I understand, Heroku can automatically determine the language. So that's great. So now let's go Control R, Control refresh, and see if the updates have been made. And we see that, in fact, yes, worker, the proc file for our the processee for our dyno has been added right there. So worker Python twitterbot.py, that's awesome. We're going to click this edit button like we did in the last video, toggle that to the right, confirm. Great. So now we're going to go view more, and then view logs, and let's see if our application did run. Okay, so what do we see here? We see that our application did run, and it's running several times. Okay, it's running several times, or twice. That's great. And we see that this message is a duplicate. Why is this message a duplicate? Because I am using the same Twitterbot Python file from last time, and I did not make any updates here, if you notice. So let's just try doing that. So to save, and then so I saved this by Control S and Sublime. So notice the only change I made is test1, test2. Let's go all the way down. Get test. We see how we have this modified change, but before we actually go within the staging, committing, and then pushing to Heroku, let's go deploy. And if you remember, we're going to deploy, this is automatically set up. Yeah, Heroku Git already set up, and yeah, so we're going to deploy using Heroku Git, and I'm trying to see if there's a way to automatically deploy some changes, but I guess by default these changes have been uploaded up automatically. And so you're maybe asking yourself right now, well, how do I keep this open for indefinitely? With the free account, from my understanding is your application will run for a max of 30 minutes. I'm unsure if the worker process continuously works. Free account, Heroku. Let's find out if this application continuously runs on your free account or it's capped at 30 minutes. Let's find out. Consuming hours, dyno sleeping. If an app has a web dyno receives no traffic in a 30-minute period. Oh, okay. So if your web app does not receive traffic in 30 minutes, then it will sleep. So since we have a worker profile, and say you have you're implementing your API, your TweetPy method, the TweetPy method, and going through and requesting information through the API, you can continuously do that with the worker as it appears now. Since this worker continuously works, just make sure you're using that time module again. And you can determine your free dyno hours. Remaining by using CLI. Well, let's check that out. Okay, so I'm gonna get back into all that right now, but let's really curious. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Heroku PS-A TweetPy, the app name, TweetPy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm just see how many hours I have left. So I have, for this month, I have about 549 hours left. That's great, cool. And my program's not gonna sleep, and then also I guess it won't be charged. So yeah, that's great. Anyways, let's go back to making this update for application, and then seeing if the application will run with no error due to this due to TweetPy and this raised error of status duplication. So git status, yes, I do see my change. Git add. Instead of the dot for everything, let's just actually do it one line, just to show that we can stage one line at a time. And git commit -m second test. Cool. And then git log. I just want to confirm that yeah, I do have my second test. Commit being made. I'm going to hit Q to exit that. Log and git status. Just to make sure that our working directory is clean. So cool. Git push Heroku. So now we're going to hit enter. And then all the Delta changes are being made. Everything's uploaded. Python app detected. Installing pip. It's going through and building this process again. Building the slug so that way we can run our application. That's good. It's compressing. Done. Cool, it's done. So let's check out. Let's check that out. Going to overview, and we see that this last activity, everything has been deployed. We can go here, view logs. Right here, status change. Okay, so apparently state changed from crash to starting. Process. Interesting. Did it raise a duplication error again? Let's check out my Twitter. So Control R, and then I see that the application did run and test 2 is there. So for my application log, all processes for the worker file, true.log, execute, erasure, status is duplicate. So the application may have ran again and then ran a second time. Okay. I'll try to figure out later how to prevent this how to prevent my application running a second time, but you do see in fact that my application did run and I didn't create something within 40 seconds. Yes, my application did run on Heroku using the Heroku command line interface. Heroku Git, Heroku Git, Heroku CLI, yeah. Okay, and if you have any questions, you can ask teammates, you can ask me, the other TAs, ask the instructor. Yeah, that's pretty much it, and hope you enjoyed.